Hey there, gamers. DreamcastGuy here, and today we're going to talk about Marathon because yesterday I had my surgery. They put 4 big spikes into my jaw, and currently I'm in a lot of pain. In fact, I'm kind of agonized. But while I was sitting on the couch after the surgery itself, I decided to kind of just watch a bunch of different Marathon streams, a bunch of people that played extraction shooters and Destiny fans and people that were, not even into that genre, people that just wanted to play a good game. And what was interesting to me is that it does feel like nobody is enjoying Marathon. I mean, I'm sure some people are, but this game is clearly going to be the make or break for Bungie. The inventors of Halo are betting everything on this. And it feels like each part of it, from the busted aim assist to the bad UI to the terrible character design to the empty maps to the lack of PvP in a PvP shooter, it feels like it's not connecting with fans or casuals. But let's talk, because I got a bunch of takes I want to take a look at. I hope you're having a great day, and if you could, please give this video a like and subscribe if you haven't already. I am actually in a astronomical amount of pain, so if at any point I sound a bit funny, I'm trying to block out pain as best I can. But I wanted to start with this. I saw a bunch of stuff from, I feel like I'm most fascinated by the people that are classically obsessed with Destiny, because Destiny 2, whether you love it, whether you hate it, it's a game that definitely made a lot of money, and it's definitely what led to the purchasing of Bungie by Sony, right? Sony said, okay, you guys are good at making a live service game that lasts years and years and years, and launching expansions and growing your player base. You can help us towards our push towards live service. Now, I have not been secretive. I don't like the idea that PlayStation is really trying to make a bunch of games as a service stuff. I just feel like I like Sony's narrative-focused stuff, Uncharted, God of War, Spider-Man. I feel like that stuff is very much their bread and butter. I don't like the idea of all this multiplayer, online-focused stuff, but this is stuff that was interesting to me. So Destin Legarie does a lot of Xbox content, but he is a guy that has played a lot, probably tens of thousands of hours of Destiny, and he said, gave Marathon a shot today, and I gotta be honest with y'all, I'm feeling lukewarm on it at the moment. Did the intro missions, died a few times, X-filled a few times, just fairly apathetic to neutral on this one. Now, what's interesting about this is that this is a very different style of shooter. I've seen people say it has the speed, the aiming, the pace of Destiny, which is a good thing, but a lot of people have been kind of pissed about the fact that extraction shooters play very different. The biggest game in the genre is this one here, Escape from Tarkov. Now, the way this genre works is that you drop into a map and there's NPCs and enemy players. You have a 20-minute timer. You're trying to kill as many of the NPCs and other players, and by killing people, you can loot their items, both crafting materials and just raw guns and stuff like that. And by taking them and managing to escape the map whenever an evacuation point appears, you get to keep those weapons. But the game is basically built on that really satisfying risk versus reward. Do I want to stay here and try and do another quest? Do I want to do that side objective? Or do I want to try and escape while I have this incredibly good gun on me? It's an interesting idea, but a lot of people are saying, okay, it just doesn't really seem to have that flow, and other games are doing it better. I think about Marathon this way. Bungie has a chance to bring the Tarkov Delta Force experience to console and PC crossplay. Destiny brought the World of Warcraft Lite experience to console and mass market. I think they have a chance of finding success here, and I'm rooting for them, but after the reveal, I was left cautious instead of hyped. A lot of people seem to be just not thrilled in general with how the game looks and plays, but I wanted to just go through 2 more people here and then a bunch of stuff. The developers have kind of been pushing back on a lot of the criticisms that, to me, I feel like their countering of the negativity has not been the best, but here's one by Tom Warren. I've played enough Marathon to have some brief thoughts. Gunplay is classic Bungie, and it feels great. Big kudos to that. There's plenty of PvP if you go looking for it. The AI enemies are rather clever and well-equipped. The inside environments look gorgeous. The outside environments need some work. I've seen a bunch of stuff. After watching a bunch of streams, the outside is basically empty. I saw that a bunch of streamers, they're all playing it on PC for the most part, they've been having troubles with the fact that the game runs exceptionally bad, which is strange. People with like $10,000 PCs that, Shroud and stuff like that. People that entire job is about playing first-person shooters with the highest frame rate possible so they can 360 no scope kill people, those people are having to lower the graphics to keep above 100 FPS and therefore have, the smoothest frame rate they could. It is interesting that the game does seem to be poorly optimized for how tiny it is. The actual raw file size, Marathon, is 5.9 gigs. It's not even 6 gigs. So it's weird that it seems to have so much trouble just running what is essentially such a tiny file, but it often feels like I'm playing Apex Legends as an extraction shooter, but with a stamina system that makes movement feel clunky. The gameplay loop is not compelling enough to make me want to play more of this over other shooters. This is kind of the big problem I think that a lot of games are having. Not just shooters, but in general, it does seem like people are getting locked into their forever games. There's been a bunch of studies about this in the industry, but it does kind of feel like every company now is trying to make a game that can have seasons and seasons of content. Okay, here's Diablo 4. Here's the next season. Here's the next battle pass. Here's the next paid cosmetic skins. Same with things like, obviously, Destiny has been doing this. Or even, obviously, Fortnite. Everybody's trying to make that forever game. And the difficulty is making something so good, they want to either quit that game to play yours, or at least take a break, right? Okay, put down Apex Legends, try this. And I almost think that having an upfront cost, which they haven't said the price of Marathon yet, but it seems like it's going to be $40, the same as Helldivers. I still feel like having an upfront cost at all is going to make it where less people are even willing to give it a shot. Now, let me continue here. Here was I saw really kind of ripping into it. Got a couple hours into Marathon. Gunplay feels excellent. Visuals are good, but the style will not make mass appeal. Depending on game flow, you might not even have many player encounters for better or worse. Curious about longevity. What will be done to keep the formula fresh? Now, this is definitely one of the weirder parts of it, is that because there is a stamina system, because you can't just run everywhere and stuff like that, you do have to be careful about not getting stuck out in the open, not trying to run from one building to the next. I did notice that in a lot of the playthroughs I watched, a lot of the streams, people would basically have entire runs where they did not see enemy players. Like straight up, didn't even see them. They'd kill a couple NPCs, they do one of their quests, which is like get 5 headshots. They do that on some of the bots on the map, and then they exfil, they leave, they evacuate while they have good loot and can now turn in that quest for extra stuff. It does feel weird that a PvP versus PvE shooter, something that does sort of incorporate all the mechanics of it, it doesn't really feel like they've figured out how to make that have a fun flow that you want to play over and over again. It's a pretty standard extraction shooter from what I played today. Gonna put in more time, and if I stop enjoying it, I'll just put it down. Nothing I saw so far makes me hyped. Gonna need more reps. But as of now, I can't see this thing being something I think about playing when I'm not playing it. Know what I mean? And this is a good sense. The best games, you miss playing it. Whenever you step away, you're like, damn, it sure would be nice if I had another chance to try this. Man, I want to get more loot. Oh, me and the boys are going to hop on. I'm excited while I'm finishing my shift at the bookstore. Now I'm excited to get back online and try that next big map. And if I die, man, it sucks to lose these weapons, but now I want to level up all over again. I've seen a lot of people saying they don't crave playing it, which can be a very, very bad sign. Now, let's talk about some of the stuff that people are the most pissed about, which is this. There is console aim assist on PC. It's basically aim hacks. I mean, legitimately, people are saying the game is going to be dead at arrival. It will automatically track targets and headshot them to death with basically no input. Look at this. I mean, to me, this is ridiculous. It doesn't even make sense. They've already done a reply, though, saying, hey, the Marathon gameplay director, Andrew Witz, talks about aim assist on mouse and keyboard. We're not trying to make it a must-pick kind of thing. That's why it's a toggle. We're trying it out as a lever to keep parity between mouse and keyboard and controller. We don't think it's the most perfect spot. This is just us getting it out there to have some thoughts that we can iterate from. This doesn't even make sense. Honestly, the idea of putting aim assist on mouse and keyboard, it's one of those things that's so tried and true. Everybody that's tried this, it's gone abysmally bad. I don't know why they even put this into the alpha. There has been talks about the fact that, in general, people have been incredibly harsh about this just because I like the look of the trailer. I thought the gameplay, I liked the minimalist art, the whole idea of us being bounty hunters that are pouring our minds into these shells for a desperate act to make a quick buck. The world of Marathon, for me, still works, but the problem is that the world doesn't really seem to matter. This is just a basic extraction shooter. It's Tarkov with even less world building. Marathon's art director responds to the very massive criticism, in my opinion. A lot of people are saying that the character designs are just too bare bones. Everyone is entitled to their take. There's room for both and more. And I think this is funny that a lot of people are like, okay, this feels like they're just being like, oh, we know a lot of y'all are screaming about how much you hate it, but just deal with it. Always feels like maybe saying less is more. I also have to say, something that a lot of people have been criticizing is the UI. I think this looks atrocious. This game currently does not have a social hub. They said they're talking about maybe doing a social hub sometime next year. When you turn the game on, there's no way to show off your cosmetics. There's no way to check out your character. It is literally just start, equip, make your party, and then drop in. And to me, it feels like this game needs something that feels like more of a world. Maybe this is just me because I do play a lot of online games like Diablo and games that do have a sense of community about being able to chill out and see other gear and see other options and walk up to another player and inspect them and see what builder they're using. I've seen a lot of people saying that this UI does suck. Also, right now, there isn't a way to break down guns. At least it doesn't seem like it. And what I mean is that when you pick up stuff on the map, you can have different attachments. Sometimes you'll find a good scope or a different butt to the gun and stuff like that, and you can connect them to the guns, but you can't snap them off. At least that's what a lot of the streamers I've been watching have been talking about. So if you find a gun that's good and you find something that's better, there's that thing of like, okay, well, I want to use this piece of that gun, but there's just no way to disassemble it. Now, again, this is an alpha, maybe in the open beta at some point. They will have that kind of option, but it does kind of worry me that this game feels surprisingly bare bones compared to competition that's already more established, bigger, more beloved. I just feel like this doesn't quite connect yet. Here is the thing that, to me, I think is going to kill it more than anything else. And again, it's just my personal opinion. The game will not have a solo-only mode. There's a lot of things that we pretty much that we're able to massively adjust about the maps, the loot, the balance, the runners, and that kind of mode. They basically said this game is only going to be 3-person teams, you and 2 friends. And I like the idea that I think conceptually that is cool about that's just the way this world works. If you want to drop onto these maps, you have to play it in this exact way. I think ideally that is neat, but undeniably, that is going to hurt the amount of lobbies you're going to find. Like, what happens if I can only play this game with 2 other people? What happens if my bros don't want to play? What happens if I get my rarest, coolest guns, I drop into the map, and I have 2 randoms, 2 random party-filled people. One of them disconnects, the other guy completely sucks. I now lose my incredibly crucial guns. Now, some people that are very much into extraction shooters say, yes, but that's the fun of it. The fear of losing your good stuff, of accidentally losing it and then having to earn it back. That's the thrill that keeps you on the content treadmill. But that, to me, I still feel like it is important to have a solo mode. I feel like that would actually really help sell it. On the other hand, I get it. On the other hand, for me, and I imagine others, solos is something that would get me more engaged, but it's clearly far out if it happens at all. I think kind of my fear is that people keep talking about Concord, the stink of Concord, the fact that last year PlayStation launched a $400 million project, a game that cost $400 million by a lot of leaked reports to make a shooter that lasted 11 days. And they did do mass refunds. It's not like any of the players lost money on it, but I do kind of think about the fact that I'm a bit afraid that what happens if I do get into this game? What happens if I do actually care about practicing it and improving it and stuff like that? And by the time they do put the solos mode that I'm most excited about, the game just gets canned before it's released. That would suck. This kind of feels like the big problem with buying into a game is that with stuff like this, even if it is 1.0, even if it is a complete game, it's always going to kind of feel early access because they're always tinkering with it. They're always trying to polish it up. They're always trying to make it that next big season. And to me, that is a bit off-putting. Let me go on here. Some people have been talking about the fact that it's not exactly burning up the Steam charts. Now, currently the alpha is on Xbox, it's on PlayStation, and it is on Steam. And it had less than 7,000 concurrent players. And people are going, okay, if we're trying to do the Concord 2 thing, Marathon has doubled the players of the game's open beta, and this is a severely capped closed alpha with approximately 80% of the people being denied a code so far. And that's people invested enough to request in the first place. I still feel like no matter how you want to spin this, I do still feel like less than 7,000. I almost said 17,000 because even 17,000 I think would be abysmally bad. Less than 7,000 concurrent players to me seems yikes bad. I mean, to put into context, like Helldivers had like 500,000 concurrent players. Obviously different style, but those are both partially Sony funded games. In the case of Helldivers 2, that was a PlayStation exclusive. It was on Steam, it was on PS5, and it was a $40 cost as well. I'm just kind of thinking 7,000 concurrent players does to me feel worryingly small. Okay, last tweet here, because this is another one that has an official reply from the developers themselves. I think one Marathon visual a lot of people are having issues with or experiencing is that we're really used to these Blender render cutscenes at this point, but by comparison, the in-game comes across as very, very flat. I know it's unfinished, but yeah. I mean, from the trailers, this looks awesome, and in the actual game, stuff looks hilariously bad. I mean, this looks practically cel-shaded. It looks almost unrendered. And here is one of the directors of the game itself. This is the art director. Hi, Paul. Pardon our dust with the alpha. There are aspects of the build that are more or less finished, obviously. UI, lobby, lighting, and content is one of them. Obviously, those marketing renders look incredible, and we're excited to see, to close that gap. The current execution is representative of core functionality and a high-level look. Now, you guys know this. I hate corporate speak, but this to me does kind of signal in a way that I just feel like this game feels very raw. Obviously, we have a couple months from launch. We're probably going to have multiple phases of another closed beta, another open beta, and then the game itself coming out. But I almost feel like they need to do more to try to win over casual fans. In this era of live service content, this game is clearly costing at very least $100 million. They're trying to make this the next big thing, right? And I feel like we're at a point where 7,000 concurrent players is just not going to cut it. I just feel like, in general, something about this is still feeling like Concord 2. Maybe when I play it, it'll completely change my mind. I did apply for the alpha. I hope I get into the alpha, but from everything I've seen so far, even from high-level streamers to Destiny fans to people in the middle, it feels like everybody is like, this may be good someday, but it sure ain't worth playing today. And that's not what you want to be hearing about the first vertical slice of your big game. But these have just been some off-the-cuff thoughts from a grumpy person who badly needs some painkillers. But I love you guys very much. If you could, please give this video a like and subscribe if you haven't already. And please keep dreaming. I am legitimately so much pain. So they put these bolts into my jaw that go up technically. The thing was called a sinus bump. They put the spikes up in here. Oh my God, it feels like there's railroad spikes behind my eyes. I'm sure the pain will get better in like literally even 24 hours, but this first day has been rough. Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.